Hari Bol Kishore and Gayatri Didi. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Gandhar Vikagiri Dhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashatarashta Shimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Gurudev Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashatarashta Shimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashatarashta Shimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashatarashta Shimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shila Gokshara Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannathas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupa Anuporiya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sharda Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Nama Jai Shri Hari Ras Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Koho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradakta Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund Ki Jai Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata Ki Jai Shriman Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Śrī Baladeva Prabhu Ki Jai Baladeva Ras Yatra Ki Jai. That's what we're reading about today. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Gauriya Bhashya Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol Hari Bol Kishore Prabhu Gayatri Didi. Who else is there? I'm just checking on Restream. Oh, Vidya Ji, Ganga Mata Ji. Hare Krishna everybody. Alright, so recap. Let me just share my screen. Once again, just finding it. There it is. Okay. So, yeah, if you have anything that you want to share, Kishore Prabhu, or let me know. Otherwise, I'll just... So after the Mangala Charan, feel free to jump in if there's anything that comes to mind. So after the 5 verses of the Mangala Charan, then we read about how Ādi Śrī Caitanya-priya Goshtira Charane Ashisha Prakare Mor Danda Paraname. In the beginning, I offer unlimited obeisances to the feet of the loving, confidential devotees of Lord Śrī Caitanya. Tabe Vando Śrī Krishna Chaitanya Maheshwar Navadipe Avatar Nama Vishwambar. I then offer my obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Śrī Krishna Chaitanya. He incarnated in Navadip, and he is known as Vishwambar. Amar Bhaktir Puja Ama Hoite Boro. Amar Hoite Boro. That same Supreme Personality of Godhead has declared in the Vedas and Srimad Bhagavatam, worship of my devotees is superior to worship of me. And then there's this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:19-21. Mad Bhakta Puja Bhyatika Sarva Bhuteshu Manmati. Worshipping my devotees is better than directly worshipping me. I have therefore offered my prayers first to the devotees, as this is the secret for attaining perfection. This is the Siddhir Lakhan. I offer my respect. Now he offers his obeisances to, and he glorifies the rest, most of this chapter, or half of this chapter, he's now going to glorify his guru, his direct guru, Shri Nityananda Prabhu. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Shri Nityananda Rai, for he is my worshipable Lord. By his mercy, the glories of Lord Chaitanya become manifest. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the thousand-headed Lord Balaram. His thousands of mouths are the abode of Lord Krishna's transcendental glories. And this Shesh is always speaking Harikatha to many Brahmanas and especially the four Kumaras, Rishis, like that. He's always speaking. And it was explained in the commentary that, Krishna Yashodam does mean the like, God, I forgot exactly, but it's the Krishna's Jasha, his glories, forgot what Udham means. But anyways, it also mentioned that Krishna Yashodam refers to Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So Anantadev, he's always, with his thousands of mouths, he's always speaking Śrīmad Bhāgavatam also. Lord Ananta's mouths are the storehouse of the gem-like glories of Lord Krishna, for valuable jewels are kept in a most appropriate place. So Lord Ananta's mouths are the most appropriate place for the valuable jewels of Krishna's glories. Therefore, in the beginning I offer my prayers to Lord Balaram, so that the glories of Lord Chaitanya will manifest from my mouth. Lord Balaram has thousands of hoods, and all of his activities are extraordinary. The Supreme Lord Balaram carries a plow and possesses a gigantic body. So gigantic, we were reading in verses that Anantadev he can't even feel the universe on his hoods. It's like a sesame seed, it was explained. He can't even feel it. He doesn't even know where it is on his hoods. Although he is exceptionally grave, he is Mahadir, he is intoxicated, he is Mata by the glories of Lord Chaitanya. Yasho Mata. Yasha means glories, and Unmata means intoxicated and maddened. And also it says, some versions say rase mata. So intoxicated in ras, gaur ras. There is no one more dear to Lord Chaitanya than Nityananda. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya always enjoys pastimes within him. So beautiful, huh? Tato dhika Chaitanyara priya nahi ar. There's no one more dear to Lord Chaitanya than Nityananda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya is most satisfied with one who hears or chants the characteristics of Lord Nityananda. And I looked up this word yesterday, Sahai. And Sahai also, it means help and support. So I think this could be translated as Shri Krishna Chaitanya, to that person, Tare, to that person, he becomes the Parama Sahai. He becomes the ultimate, the Param helper, like the ultimate helper or the ultimate support. He gives that person supreme, support. Param Sahai. Lord Shiva and Parvati also become pleased with such a person, and the transcendental goddess of learning, Saraswati, manifests on his tongue. And I remember reading in the commentary on the Gaudiya Bhashya, what was it? There was two kinds of Saraswati. One was, God, what was it? Actually, let me just look at it. One was...
Wicked Saraswati.
What was it?
Wicked Saraswati.
Yeah, Wicked Saraswati. I just want to know what the words were, though, like the Bengali or Sanskrit. I'll just find it pretty quick. Saraswati. Oops, did I open up the wrong version? No, this is the right version. What? Oh my god, I hope... Uh-oh. I think I accidentally deleted all the commentaries. Oh shoot. Oh my god, that really sucks. Anyways, I have it, I made this version, but... Oh, Krishna. God, that's really scary because that was a lot of work. Anyhow, I'll figure this out later on, but Saraswati. Okay, there it is. So, the words that are devoid with connection with Krishna's service, spoken by those who desire to satisfy their senses and ignore the guidance of Baladeva Prabhu, are called asati, or dushta. Asati or dushta, or asati means unchaste, and dushta means wicked, Saraswati. Whereas the words that are spoken in connection with Krishna's service by pure living entities who desire to serve Lord Krishna under the guidance of Baladeva Prabhu are called Shuddha, transcendental Saraswati. Shuddha Saraswati and Asati or Dushta Saraswati. Alright. Along with Parvati and innumerable maidservants, Lord Shiva engages in the worship of Sankarshan. The topics in the 5th canto of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam concerning Lord Balaram, the original Sankarshan, are glorified by all Vaishnavas. The narrations of Lord Balaram's Rāsa-līlā pastimes with the gopis in Vrindavan are most exalted. Uh-oh. I don't know how to erase this annotation thing. I guess I'll just stop sharing and... There, okay. The Puranas describe how Lord Balaram performs his Rāsa-līlā in the 2 months of spring, Madhav and Madhu. So that's where we're reading today. The narrations of Lord Balaram's Rāsa-līlā pastimes of the gopis in Vrindavan are most exalted. Today we're just going to be reading about Baladev's Rāsa-līlā. That's the... Gayatri Didi is saying that my voice is so fair. Can you hear me okay, Kishore? Because I once listened back, because Gayatri, every time she says that, but I listened back one time and it sounded fine on the replay.
I hear you fine.
Yeah? Okay.
I hear you fine, yeah.
I think Gayatri Didi, maybe your phone needs to be, like, maybe if you use headphones or something, it will be louder. Maybe your phone speaker isn't very loud. Okay. So, yesterday we ended with a kind of long purport describing the Rāsa-līlā. Wait, what verse did we read up to? Maybe we read more. I think we read more. The narrations of Lord Balaram's Rāsa-līlā pastimes of the gopis in Vrindavan are most exalted. No, we didn't read this, did we? No, I think we're starting here.
Yeah, so it's doing also.
Okay. So I just gonna quickly go over some things in here. In the Gaudiya Bhashya for this, the narration of Balaram's Rāsa-līlā pastimes of the gopis in Vrindavan are most exalted. He explains what Rāsa-līlā refers to a particular type of dance involving many women dancers. This is from Brihad Vaishnav Toshani by Srila Sanatana Goswami. He says, when many women join hands in a circle and are embraced around the neck by male dancers, it is called a Ras dance. And in a book called Sangita Sar, it says, when a male dancer performs being surrounded by a circle of many women dancers moving about, it is called a Hali Shaka. When a Hali Shaka dance is accompanied by various refined tals, many different rhythms, dance steps, and gestures, it is called a Ras dance. As it does not exist even in heaven, what is the question of it existing on earth? And then in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Sarata Darshani to Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, he says, Ras Krida refers to a Ras dance in which there is a mixture of ingredients, such as dancing, singing, kissing, and embracing. Udara, so the exalted Rāsa-līlā of Baladeva Prabhu uses the word Udara, means great or exalted. And then we were reading how sometimes Śrī Baladeva draws Krishna from Dwarka by his mind and presents him before a particular gopi in a secluded place. Therefore, he is known as Sankarshan. Who says that? That's in, this is from Jiva Goswami's Vaishnav Toshani. And he also says, Śrī Baladeva, who is non-different from Sankarshan, solaced the damsels of Vrindavan by singing the glories of Krishna's names. So that's what Baladeva was singing, the glories of Krishna to the gopis. That's how he was manifesting. He was manifesting Krishna in that way. Jiva Goswami then says, in this way, it is reasonable to say that Śrī Baladeva performed Rāsa-līlā with his own gopis, because he is the all-knowing Supreme Lord and endowed with all potencies. Because of this, he knows the internal feelings of his eternal beloved gopis. If one explains this verse in another way, it would diminish the prestige of Dwarka, so there's no need to further elaborate on this. I mean, Srila Jiva Goswami, he is also saying, like, he also was writing in favor of Swakiyavad, right? That Krishna, Radha and Krishna are married. And so also, he's writing here that Baladev only performed Rāsa-līlā with his own gopis. But we understand from other things that we'll probably read, I think, maybe we'll read today, that actually also, yeah, Baladev Prabhu had his own gopis, and that's true that he performed, but he also performed Rāsa-līlā with Krishna's gopis. But we're reading how he was speaking the glories of Krishna to the gopis. The gopis were feeling so much separation, and so they were all, it wasn't that he was, anyways, we'll read about this today. I'm not going to try to explain it myself.
I heard somewhere that Jiva Goswami wrote there in support of Parakiyavad somewhere in his writings.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've never heard where, but there is like a big long thing where Srila Jiva Goswami is writing totally like in support of Swakiyavad. You even see it in his Gopal Champu. But at the end of this long explanation on Swakiyavad, he said, like the very last sentence, I think it was, he said that I've written this to please other people or something like that. Like this wasn't his own opinion or something. I can't remember the exact words. I could find it easily, but because we've published it in a couple of our books. But yeah. We have to understand the time that Jiva Goswami was in, and people were criticizing, this Parakya, and he was dealing with lots of different people, and so, all right, the culture was a lot different back then also than it is now. So now we begin from text 23, but before we do that, I want to do one kirtan. We'll sing one kirtan and then do the Mangala Charan, and then we'll start our reading. Just looking at the comments here. Haribo, Rase Shri Mataji, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantaramurti Mataji. Okay. Prajumna, I don't understand your question. Does Vishwambar have any relation to the Vishnu Sahasranam? I mean, like, is that one of the names in Vishnu Sahasranam? I don't know. We can. Okay, so I'm going to get. Nitai Padakamala by Shrilanartam Das Thakur. Nitai Padakamala Koti Chandra Shushitala Nitai Padakamala Koti Chandra Shushitala Je Chaya Jagat Jurai Je Chaya Jagat Jurai Nitai bine bhai Radha Krishna paite nai Heno nitai bine bhai Radha Krishna paite nai Drida kore dharani tar pai Drida kore dharani tar pai Se sambandha nahi jar vritta janma gelo tar she sambandha nahi jay vritta janma gelo tar she pasho boro durachar she pasho boro durachar nitai na bolilo mukhe majilo sangsara sukhe nitai na bolilo mukhe majilo sangsara sukhe avedya kole ki koribe tar vidya kole ki koribe tar vidya kole ki koribe tar vidya kole ki koribe tar ahankare matta hoya nitai pada pasariya ahankare matta hoya nitai pada pasariya asya tere satya kori mani asya tere satya kori mani nitai karuna habe ব্রজ রাধা কৃষ্ণ পাবে নিতাই করুণা হবে ব্রজে রাধা কৃষ্ণ পাবে ধরো নিতায়ের চরণ দুখানি ধরো নিতায়ের চরণ দুখানি ধরো নিতায়ের চরণ দুখানি ধরো নিতায়ের চরণ দুখানি নিতাই চরণ সত্য তাহার সেবক নিত্য নিতাই পর সদা করো আশা নিতাই চরণ সত্য তাহার সেবক নিত্য নিতাই পর সদা করো আশা নরোত্তম বড় দুঃখী নিতাই মোরে করো সুখী নরোত্তম বড় দুঃখী নিতাই মোরে করো সুখী রাখো রঙ্গ চরণের পাশা রাখো রঙ্গ চরণের পাশা নিতাই হে 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 হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Shri Nityananda Rama Ki Jai. Oh, Hari Bol Satya Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. Great, you're able to make it. I thought you had another program now. Oh, okay, tomorrow. Okay, got it. Okay, cool. God, I am so freaked out about this file that doesn't have any. Sorry, my mind just keeps on going to it. I accidentally deleted all the commentaries from this, and it took me forever to do that. I guess I should. I'll just check it later on. I want to see if there's other versions of this file. Sorry, just give me a minute. Otherwise, I'm not going to be peaceful. I'll have to look it up later on, if it's possible to find older versions of the file. Huh. Anyhow. Yeah, I'll have to look later on. Browse version history. Yeah, see there, browse version history, but it's not letting me click on it. Oh, shoot. Okay, anyhow. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's move on to the Mangala Charan. Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalataya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ajanulambita Bhujo Kanakavadato Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalaya-taksho Vishwambharo Dijavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Namastrikala Satyaya Jagannatha Sutaya Cha Sabhrityaya Saputraya Sakalatraya Te Namaha Avatirno Sakarunyo Parichinno Sarishvaro Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Dvau Bhrataro Bhaje Sajayati Vishuddha Vikrama Kanakabha Kamalayate Kshana Varajanu Vilambi Sharbhujo Bahuda Bhakti Rasabhinartaka Jayati Jayati Deva Shri Krishna Chaitanya Chandro Jayati Jayati Kirtis Tasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Jayati Bhrityas Tasya Vishveshamurter Jayati Jayati Nrityam Tasya Sarva Priyanam Ādi Śrī Caitanya Goshtir Charane Ashisha Prakare Mor Danda Paraname Tabe Vando Shri Krishna Chaitanya Maheshwar Navadipe Avatar Nama Vishwambhar Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Kshiptashtakama Ditaranga Madhe Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare The glories of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata and Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur from Śrī Caitanya-Charitamrita Ādi 8.33 to verse 42. Ore mura lok shuno Chaitanya Mangal, Chaitanya Mahima jate jani be shakal, Krishna-līlā bhagavate kohe ved vyas, Chaitanya-līlar vyas Vrindavana das koilo Chaitanya Mangal, Jahara Shravane nashe sarva amangal, Chaitanya nitar jate janiye mahima, jate jani Krishna bhakti siddhanter sima, Bhagavate joto bhakti siddhanter sar, likhiyachen iha jani koriya udhar, Chaitanya mangal shune jadi pashandi javan, sheho mahavaishnava hoy tatakhon, manushe rachite nare aiche grantha dhanya, Vrindavana dasa mukhe vakta Śrī Caitanya, Vrindavana dasa pare koti namaskar, aiche granta korite ho tarila sangsar, Narayani Chaitanyer uchishta bhajan, Tar garbhe janmila Śrī Dasa Vrindavan, Tar ki arbhuta Chaitanya charita varnan, Jahara Shravane Shuddha Koilo Tribhuvan, Sahaje Vichitra Madhur Chaitanya Vihar, Vrindavana Dasa Mukhe Amriter Dhar. By nature, all the activities of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet, and when they are described by Vrindavan Das Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar. Hari Bol Jai, Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai, Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki Jai. Okay, let me close these. Hare Krishna, Govinda, Govinda Saha, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Indira Mataji. Man, I can't. I'm so worried about this thing. My file, because I worked so many hours, like many days on preparing the commentary. It's so strange that it's missing. Anyways, at least I have the chapter 1, but I did all the chapters for the whole book. It's like 20 chapters. I forgot how many chapters, but it took me many hours. I've been doing it for like weeks. Anyhow. Alright, so yesterday we read this long commentary. We just went over a recap over this, but I'll just read this verse here. We're reading all about Baladev's Rāsa-līlā today. So, Tāna rasa krida kata parama udar, Vrindavane gopi sane korila bihar. The narrations of Lord Balaram's Rāsa-līlā pastimes with the gopis in Vrindavan are most exalted. Okay, so we're starting this today. Dui masa vasanta madhava madhu name, halayuda rasa krida kohoye purane. The Puranas describe how Lord Balaram performs his Rāsa-līlā in the 2 months of spring, in the month of Madhav and Madhu. Gaudiya Bhashya, the commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. According to Srila Sridhar Swami's commentary, the word Madhu in this verse means Chaitra, that's March to April, and in between March and April. And Madhav means Vaishakh, which is April to May. Halayuda refers to Balaram, and Purane means in the Srimad Bhagavatam and in the Vishnu Purana, 5.24.21 and 5.25.18. Talks about Lord Balaram's Rāsa-līlā in the 2 months of Madhav and Madhu, from March to May. Sheshakala shloka e shuno bhagavate, Shri Shuka Kohen Shune Raja Parikshite. Now please hear those verses that were spoken by Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Gaudiya Bhashya. In the following 4 verses from the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 10th canto, chapter 65, verses 17 to 18, and verses 21 to 22, Sri Shukadev narrates to Parikshit Maharaj the full moon night Ras-līlā of Balaram and his Gopi friends. Shukadev had previously just described Baladev's arrival in Gokul to receive the affection of his juniors, meet his former Vraja friends, and solace those who were afflicted by separation from Krishna, such as the elders headed by Nanda and Yashoda, the friends of the same age, and the gopis, who had fully dedicated their lives to Krishna. Okay, so this is Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 10th canto, chapter 65. Verse 17. Dvau maso tatra chavatsin madhung madhava eva cha ramakshapasu bhagavan gopinam ratim avahan. Lord Balaram, the personality of Godhead, resided there for the 2 months of Madhu and Madhav, and during the nights he gave his cowherd girlfriends conjugal pleasure. Gaudiya Bhashya. Balaram's Ras-līlā is described by Sri Sanatana Goswami in his Brihad Vaishnav Toshani commentary as follows. In this way, Śrī Baladeva first solaced those gopis who were attached to Krishna and thus fulfilled the principal purpose of his visit. He thus exhibited his affection for the residents of Vraj. Thereafter, he enjoyed spring pastimes with other gopis. He then says, regarding the words Ratim Avahan, Rati refers to the original mellow, Ādi Ras, or conjugal love. The prefix A means properly, and the word Vahan means having received. Okay. Because he is Rama, he is expert in conjugal affairs. He is also the Supreme Lord, so he is very expert in the various types of conjugal pastimes mentioned in the Kama Shastras. Or the word Ta in the previous Bhagavatam verse can also refer to those gopis who were greatly afflicted out of separation from Krishna and whose only desire was to see Krishna. Therefore, Balaram resided in Vrindavan for 2 months in order to please the gopis of Vraj with conjugal pastimes at night. By the use of the word cha, it is understood that Lord Balaram remained in Vrindavan for more than 2 months, because the gopis were greatly afflicted by feelings of separation, and because Lord Baladev is most merciful and gives happiness to everyone. That was all from Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Vaishnav Toshani. In his Laghu Toshani commentary, Srila Jiva Goswami writes, the word Gopinam in this verse refers to other gopis, for the use of the word gopi does not always refer to Krishna's gopis. If one says that both subject matters are the same, Krishna enjoyed pastimes at night with the gopis, and Baladev also enjoyed pastimes at night with the gopis, so there's no difference between Krishna's gopis and Balaram's gopis. So if somebody says that, in reply to this, it may be said that no one should have such doubts, because the gopis described in the previous Ras pastimes are different from these gopis. So Jiva Goswami is really pushing that Baladev had his own gopis. But Srila Sanatana Goswami here is saying, saying those gopis who are feeling separation from Krishna. Let's continue reading on. Therefore, one should understand that Balaram's gopis are different. So Śrī Baladeva expertly pacified Krishna's beloved gopis, and then went to those gopis in whose presence he was once teased by Krishna, who said, "My dear older brother, the gopis are desiring to touch your broad chest and the embrace of your 2 arms." These joking words indicated that although Balaram did not touch those gopis at the time, it would take place in the future. There, no mention that after Krishna killed Shankachura and played holy with his beloved gopis, no mention that after Krishna killed Shankachura and played holy with his beloved gopis, that these gopis, described as subordinate to Krishna's beloved gopis, received Krishna's touch. So it should be understood that Krishna instructed these gopis to carefully protect their chastity for the pleasure of Balaram. According to this, it should be understood that Krishna solaced these gopis as explained above. The word kshapasu means most confidential. The word Rama in this verse refers to one who is qualified for enjoying. Okay, so then it seems like what it said, Baladev first pacified Krishna's gopis, speaking Krishna's glories and like that. I don't know exactly how, but he pacified Krishna's gopis, and then he performed the Rāsa-līlā with his own gopis. That's what it sounds like here, right? In his Kram Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami writes, the gopis referred to in this verse as Balaram's gopis are those who played Holi along with Krishna's gopis after the killing of Shankachura. It should be understood at this point that these gopis remained chaste under Krishna's instructions. There is no mention of these gopis receiving the touch of Balaram in his earlier Vraja pastimes. There is only some mention of their strong attachment for Balaram. Therefore, Krishna mercifully requested them to protect their chastity for the pleasure of Balaram. In his Brihat Krama Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami writes, he pleased his gopis means that he pleased his own group of gopis. Okay, now, in his Sarartha Darshini commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has quoted Sridhar Swami as follows. The conjugal affairs of the gopis mentioned in this verse relate with those gopis who had either not taken in birth when Krishna enjoyed his Rāsa-līlā pastimes, or who were too young to take part. This is the standard understanding of the previous acharyas. Our Prabhupada, Srila Sanatana Goswami, had stated that these beloved gopis of Balaram were those who had joined Krishna's beloved gopis in the holy pastimes after the killing of Shankachura. Okay, that's very clear. Text 26, same chapter, verse 18. Next verse. Purna Chandra Kalamrishte Kaumudi Gandhavayuna Yamuno Pavane Reme Sevite Śrī Ganarvrita. In the company of numerous women, Lord Balaram enjoyed in a garden by the Yamuna river. This garden was bathed in the rays of the full moon and caressed by breezes bearing the fragrance of night-blooming lotuses. Gaudiya Bhashya. Balaram's Rāsa-līlā is described by Sri Sanatana Goswami in his Brihad Vaishnav commentary as follows. In order to please Balaram and increase the beauty of Vrindavan, the eternal full moon of the transcendental abode appeared. In this verse, the phrase Sevite Śrī Ganar, in the company of numerous women, refers to gopis other than those who enjoyed pastimes with Krishna. In his Sarartha Darshini commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, Sri Balaram enjoyed his Rāsa-līlā pastimes on the bank of the Yamuna at the famous place called Ramaghat. This place is far away from the place of Krishna's Rāsa-līlā pastimes. Upagiyamano Gandharvar Vanita Shobhimandale Reme Karenu Yutesho Mahendra Ivavarana Ne Durdundu Bhayo Vyomni Vavrishu Kusumar Muda Gandharva Munayo Ramam Tadviryar Irdire Tada. Same chapter, verses 21 to 22. As the Gandharvas sang his glories, Lord Balaram enjoyed with the brilliant circle of young women. He appeared just like Indra's elephant, the lordly Airavat, enjoying the company of she-elephants. At that time, kettle drums resounded in the sky, the Gandharvas joyfully rained down flowers, and the great sages praised Lord Balaram's heroic deeds. Gaudiya Bhashya. Some editions have Udgayan instead of Upagiyamano, and Mahendro Varano Yatha instead of Mahendra Iva Varana. In either case, the meaning is the same. Since these two verses from Śrīmad Bhagavatam 21 and 22 have not been commented on by Sridhar Swami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it appears that these verses are not found in some editions of Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Interesting. Explanations on these two verses may be found in the Bhagavat Chandra Chandrika commentary of Viraraghava Acharya, who comes in the Ramanuja Sampradaya, and in the Pada Ratnavali commentary of Vijayadvaja Tirtha, who comes in the Madhva Sampradaya. Okay. Jai Stri Sangha Muni Gane Koren Nindan Tara Orame Rase Koren Stavan. Sages condemn the association of women, yet they glorify Lord Balaram's association with the cowherd girls in the Rasa dance. See, that's how pure Baladev's Rāsa-līlā is. Gaudiya Bhashya. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 2.1 verses 3 to 4, Sri Shukadev Goswami condemns the association of women and those who are attached to women in the following statement to Parikshit Maharaj. He says, O king, the lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime either in making money or maintaining family members. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 3.31 verses 32 to 42, Lord Kapiladev says to his mother Devahuti, if, therefore, the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, influenced by sensually minded people engaged in the pursuit of sexual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to hell as before. He becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, fortune, and all such opportunities. One should not associate with a coarse fool who is bereft of knowledge of self-realization and who is no more than a dancing dog in the hands of a woman. The infatuation and bondage which accrue to a man from attachment to any other object is not as complete as that resulting from attachment to a woman or following the fellowship of men who are fond of women. At the sight of his... There's also Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said one time that it can be more harmful to associate with those who are attached to women than associating with women directly, even. At the sight of his own daughter, Brahma was bewildered by her charms and shamelessly ran up to her in the form of a stag when she took the form of a hind. Amongst all kinds of living entities begotten by Brahma, namely men, demigods, and animals, none but the sage Narayan is immune to the attraction of Maya in the form of a woman. Just try to understand the mighty strength of my Maya in the shape of a woman, who by the mere movement of her eyebrows can keep even the greatest conquerors of the world under her grip. One who aspires to reach the culmination of yoga and has realized himself by rendering service unto me should never associate with an attractive woman, for such a woman is declared in the scriptures to be the gateway to hell for the advancing devotee. And it goes the other way around. So for women, an attractive man. The woman created by the Lord is the representation of Maya, and one who associates with such Maya by accepting services must certainly know that this is the way of death, just like a blind well covered with grass. A living entity who, as a result of attachment to a woman in his previous life, has been endowed with the form of a woman, foolishly looks upon Maya in the form of a man, her husband, as the bestower of wealth, progeny, house, and other material assets. A woman, therefore, should consider her husband, her house, and her children to be the arrangement of the external energy of the Lord for her death, just as the sweet singing of the hunter is death for the deer. think it's like, I think birth, like in each birth, well, not, I can't say this definitively, but like in each birth, they swap genders because the husband will be thinking of his wife at the time of death, and the wife will be thinking of their husband, and so then they switch roles. I don't know. It's kind of saying something, didn't say that exactly, but kind of, yeah. Okay. Narad Muni speaks the following words to Maharaj Prachina Barhi in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 4.25.6. Those who are interested only in a so-called beautiful life, namely remaining as a householder entangled by sons and a wife and searching after wealth, those people think that such things as they think that remaining as a householder entangled by sons and wife, these kinds of things are life's ultimate goal. Such people simply wander in different types of bodies throughout this material existence without finding out the ultimate goal of life. Narad Muni describes the story of Puranjan and Puranjani to Maharaj Prachina Barhi in the 4th canto of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam from chapter 25, verse 10 to chapter 29, verse 51. Yet he particularly points out the ill effects of associating with women and the benefits of pleasing Lord Hari in verse 28 of the 28th chapter. 4:28-28. Again, in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 4.29 verses 54 to 55, Narad Muni further explains to Maharaj Prachina Barhi, "My dear king, a woman who is very attractive in the beginning, but in the end very disturbing, is exactly like a flower which is attractive in the beginning and detestable at the end. With a woman, the living entity is entangled with lusty desires, and he enjoys sex just as one enjoys the aroma of a flower. He thus enjoys a life of sense gratification from his tongue to his genitals, and in this way, the living entity considers himself very happy in family life. United with his wife, he always remains absorbed in such thoughts. He feels great pleasure in hearing the talks of his wife and children, which are like the sweet humming of bumblebees that collect honey from flower to flower. He forgets that before him is time, which is taking away his lifespan with the passing of day and night. He does not see the gradual diminishing of his life, nor does he care about the superintendent of death who is trying to kill him from behind. Just try to understand this. You are in a precarious position and are threatened from all sides. My dear king, just try to understand the allegorical position of the deer. Be fully conscious of yourself and give up the pleasure of hearing about promotion to heavenly planets by fruit of activity. Give up household life, which is full of sex, as well as stories about such things, and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of the liberated souls. In this way, please give up your attraction for material existence." If I remember, I think this will be our reading. I remember seeing one commentary that was really long. I think this might be it. Just checking really quick. Yes, this is it. This is our reading for today. This is actually 6,000 words. It's longer than we normally read. I think. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to check that. In his narration about the householder Vaishnav, King Priyavrata, Shukadev Goswami spoke to Parikshit Maharaj in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 5.1.29 as follows. He greatly loved his wife, Barhishmati, and with the increase of days, the exchange of nuputo, I don't know how to say this word, nuputo? How do you say it, Satyamataji? Nuputo?
Nuptial.
Nuptial. Okay, thanks. Who is it? King Priyavrata greatly loved his wife Barhishmati, and with the increase of days, their exchange of nuptial love also increased. By her feminine behavior as she dressed herself, walked, got up, smiled, laughed, and glanced about, Queen Barhishmati increased his energy. Thus, although he was a great soul, he appeared lost in the feminine conduct of his wife. He behaved with her just like an ordinary man, but actually he was a great soul. In the same chapter of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, verse 37, King Priyavrata condemned his life of material enjoyment as follows. Alas, how condemned I have become because of my sense gratification. I have now fallen into material enjoyment, which is exactly like a covered well. I have had enough. I am not going to enjoy any more. Just see how I've become like a dancing monkey in the hands of my wife. Because of this, I am condemned. And the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 552, and also verses 7 to 9, Lord Rishabhdev speaks to his sons as follows. It is the verdict of all Shastras and great personalities that by serving a pure devotee, one attains the path of liberation. However, by associating with materialistic people who are attached to material enjoyment and women, one attains the path of darkness. Even though one may be very learned and wise, he is mad if he does not understand that the endeavor for sense gratification is a useless waste of time. Being forgetful of his own interest, he tries to be happy in the material world, centering his interests around his home, which is based on sexual intercourse and which brings him all kinds of material miseries. In this way, one is no better than a foolish animal. The attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. When the strong knot in the heart of a person implicated in material life due to the results of past action is slackened, one turns away from his attachment to home, wife, and children. In this way, one gives up the basic principle of illusion, that is I and mine, and he becomes liberated. Thus, one goes to the transcendental world. After Ajamil was freed from the clutches of the Yamadutas by the mercy of the Vishnudutas, he condemned his life of material enjoyment in the following verses from the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, 6.2, verses 36 to 38. Because of identifying oneself with the body, one is subjected to desires for sense gratification, and thus one engages in many different types of pious and impious action. This is what constitutes material bondage. Now I shall disentangle myself from my material bondage, which has been caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead's illusory energy in the form of a woman. Being a most fallen soul, I was victimized by the illusory energy and have become like a dancing dog led around by a woman's hand. Now I shall give up all lusty desires and free myself from this illusion. I shall become a merciful, well-wishing friend to all living entities and always absorb myself in Krishna consciousness. Simply because I chanted the holy name of the Lord in the association of devotees, my heart is now becoming purified. Therefore, I shall not fall victim again to the false lures of material sense gratification. Now that I have become fixed in the absolute truth, henceforward I shall not identify myself with the body. I shall give up false conceptions of I and mine and fix my mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 6.3.28, Yamaraj says to his servants, Paramahamsas are exalted persons who have no taste for material enjoyment and who drink the honey of the Lord's lotus feet. My dear servants, bring to me for punishment only persons who are averse to the taste of that honey and who do not associate with Paramahamsas, and who are attached to family life and worldly enjoyment, which form the path to hell. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 6.4, verses 52 to 53, it is described how Prajapati Daksha and his descendants, who were experts in associating with women and who followed the path of pravritti, or sense enjoyment, it explains how Prajapati Daksha and his descendants were instructed by Lord Hari to continually engage in material enjoyment and follow the non-devotional path of associating with women. Why were they instructed by Lord Hari to continually engage in material enjoyment? I guess because there needed to be progeny. When the king of the Vidyadharas, Chitraketu, saw the lord of the Paramahamsas and foremost of the Avaduts, Lord Shiva, embracing Parvati, he spoke the following words in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 6:17-8. Chitraketu said, "Ordinary conditioned persons generally embrace their wives and enjoy their company in solitary places." Okay, I don't know what that, okay. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 7:6 verses 11-13 and verse 17, Prahlad Maharaj instructs his demoniac friends as follows. How can a person who is most affectionate to his family, the core of his heart being always filled with their pictures, give up their association? I think it's funny, this is like a 5-year-old kid speaking to his 5-year-old friends. So specifically, a wife is always very kind and sympathetic and always pleases her husband in a solitary place. Who could give up the association of such a dear and affectionate wife? Simply for the satisfaction of 2 important senses, the genitals and the tongue, one is bound by material conditions. How can one escape? In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 7:9 verse 45, Prahlad Maharaj says to Lord Nrsimhadev, "Sex life is compared to the rubbing of 2 hands to relieve an itch. Griha Medis, so-called grihastas who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The kripanas, the fools who are just the opposite of brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyments. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching, are not subjected to the sufferings of fools and rascals." While describing the 4 ashrams, Sri Narad Muni spoke to Maharaj Yudhishthira the following verses in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 12, verses 6-7 and verses 9-11. Fully controlling his senses, he should associate only as much as necessary with women or those controlled by women. Only as much as absolutely necessary. A brahmachari, or one who has not accepted the grihastha ashram, who's not gone into family life, must rigidly avoid talking with women or about women, for the senses are so powerful that they may agitate even the mind of a sannyasi, a member of the renounced order of life. A woman is compared to fire, and a man is compared to a butter pot. Therefore, a man should avoid associating even with his own daughter in a secluded place. Similarly, he should also avoid association with other women. One should associate with women only for important business and not otherwise. As long as a living entity is not completely self-realized, as long as he is not independent of the misconception of identifying with his body, which is nothing but a reflection of the original body and senses, he cannot be relieved of the conception of duality, which is epitomized by the duality between man and woman. Thus, there is every chance that he will fall down because his intelligence is bewildered. All the rules and regulations apply equally to the householder and the sannyasi, the member of the renounced order of life. The grihastha, however, is given permission by the spiritual master to indulge in sex during the period favorable for procreation. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 7:14 verses 12-13, Narad Muni says to Yudhishthira Maharaj, "Therefore, if one can give up his attachment to such a wife, he conquers the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is never conquered by anyone. Through proper deliberation, one should give up attraction to his wife's body, because that body will ultimately be transformed into small insects, stool, or ashes." What is the value of this insignificant body? How much greater is the Supreme Being, who is all-pervading like the sky. Narad Muni further explains to Yudhishthira Maharaj in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 7:15-18. One who is driven by the senses, especially by the tongue and genitals, must accept the position of a household dog to satisfy his senses. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 9:651, Sobhari Muni repents after his extended association with the women as follows. A person desiring liberation from material bondage must give up the association of persons interested in sex life, and should not employ his senses externally in seeing, hearing, talking, walking, and so on. One should always stay in a secluded place, completely fixing his mind at the lotus feet of the unlimited personality of Godhead. And if one wants any association at all, he should associate with persons similarly engaged. While describing the characteristics of Lord Ram and Sita, Sri Shukadeva Goswami says to Parikshit Maharaj in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 9:11-17, the attraction between man and woman, or male and female, always exists everywhere, making everyone always fearful. Such feelings are present even among the controllers like Brahma and Lord Shiva, and is the cause of fear for them. What to speak of others who are attached to household life in this material world? In Sri Shukadeva Goswami's description of the topics of Urvashi and Pururava to Parikshit Maharaj, Urvashi speaks the following statement in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 9:14, verses 36-38. My dear king, you are a man, a hero. Don't be impatient and give up your life. Be sober, and don't allow the senses to overcome you like foxes. Don't let the foxes eat you. In other words, you should not be controlled by your senses. Rather, you should know that the heart of a woman is like that of a fox. There is no use making friendship with women. Women as a class are merciless and cunning. They cannot tolerate even a slight offense. For their own pleasure, they can do anything irreligious, and therefore they do not fear killing even a faithful husband or brother. Women are very easily seduced by men. Therefore, polluted women give up the friendship of a man who is their well-wisher, and they establish false friendship among fools. Indeed, they seek newer and newer friends, one after another. See also the 9th canto, 19th chapter, particularly verses 1-20 and 24-28, wherein Maharaj Yayati, speaking to Devayani, condemns the association of women with the story of a he-goat and a she-goat. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 11.3, verses 18-19, Sri Prabhupada, one of the 9 Yogendras, speaks the following words to Maharaj Nimi, the king of Videha. Accepting the roles of male and female in human society, the conditioned souls unite in sexual relationships. Thus, they constantly make material endeavors to eliminate their unhappiness and unlimitedly increase their pleasure. But one should see that they inevitably achieve exactly the opposite result. In other words, their happiness inevitably vanishes, and as they grow older, their material discomfort increases. Wealth is a perpetual source of distress. It is most difficult to acquire, and it is virtual death for the soul. What satisfaction does one actually gain from his wealth? Similarly, how can one gain ultimate or permanent happiness from one's so-called home, children, relatives, and domestic animals, which are all maintained by one's hard-earned money? In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 11.5, 13-15, Sri Chamasa instructs King Nimi as follows. Religious sex life is also permitted, but only in marriage for begetting children, and not for sensuous exploitation of the body. Unfortunately, however, the less intelligent materialists cannot understand that their duties in life should be performed purely on the spiritual platform. The conditioned souls become completely bound in affection to their own corpse-like material bodies and their relatives and paraphernalia. In such a proud and foolish condition, the conditioned souls envy other living entities, as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who resides in the heart of all beings. Thus enviously offending others, the conditioned souls gradually fall down into hell. What was that from? I forgot. That was from Chamasa Instructs King Nimi in the 11th canto. Okay. Lord Krishna's narration to Uddhav on the conversation between Maharaj Yadu and the self-realized mendicant, who tells the story of a pigeon and his wife in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, that's Bhagavatam 11.7, verses 52 to 74, may also be discussed in this regard. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11.8, verses 1, 7 to 8, 13 to 14, and 17 to 18, the mendicant Brahman further instructs Maharaj Yadu as follows. O king, the embodied living entity automatically experiences unhappiness in heaven or hell. Similarly, happiness will also be experienced, even without one seeking it. Therefore, a person of intelligent discrimination does not make any endeavor to obtain such material happiness. One who has failed to control his senses immediately feels attraction upon seeing a woman's form, which is created by the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. Indeed, when the woman speaks with enticing words, smiles coquettishly, and moves her body sensuously, his mind is immediately captured, and thus he falls blindly into the darkness of material existence, just as the moth, maddened by the fire, rushes blindly into its flames. A foolish person with no intelligent discrimination is immediately aroused at the sight of a lusty woman beautifully decorated with golden ornaments, fine clothing, and other cosmetic features. Being eager for sense gratification, such a fool loses all intelligence and is destroyed, just like the moth who rushes into the blazing fire. A saintly person should never touch a young girl. In fact, he should not even let his foot touch a wooden doll in the shape of a woman. By bodily contact with a woman, he will surely be captured by illusion, just as the elephant is captured by the she-elephant due to his desire to touch her body. A man possessing intelligent discrimination should not under any circumstances try to exploit the beautiful form of a woman for his sense gratification, just as an elephant trying to enjoy a she-elephant is killed by other bull elephants, also enjoying her company. One trying to enjoy a lady's company, just as an elephant trying to enjoy a she-elephant is killed by other bull elephants also trying to enjoy a company, one trying to enjoy a lady's company can at any moment be killed by her other lovers, who are stronger than he. A saintly person dwelling in the forest in the renounced order of life should never listen to songs or music promoting material enjoyment. Rather, a saintly person should carefully study the example of the deer, who is bewildered by the sweet music of the hunter's horn and is thus captured and killed. Becoming attracted to the worldly singing, dancing, and musical entertainment of beautiful women, even the great sage Rishyashringa, the son of Mrigi, fell totally under their control, just like a pet animal. Pingala's words of frustration are narrated by Lord Krishna to Uddhav in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11.8, verses 30 to 34, as follows. Just see how greatly illusioned I am. Because I cannot control my mind, just like a fool, I desire lusty pleasure from an insignificant man. I am such a fool that I have given up the service of that person who, being eternally situated within my heart, is actually most dear to me. That most dear one is the Lord of the universe, who is the bestower of real love and happiness and the source of all prosperity. Although he is in my own heart, I have completely neglected him. Instead, I have ignorantly served insignificant men who can never satisfy my real desires and who have simply brought me unhappiness, fear, anxiety, lamentation, and illusion. Oh, how I have uselessly tortured my own soul! I have sold my body to lusty, greedy men who are themselves objects of pity. Thus practicing the most abominable profession of a prostitute, I hope to get money and sex pleasure.
This material body is like a house in which I, the soul, am living. The bones forming my spine, ribs, arms, and legs are like the beams, crossbeams, and pillars of the house, and the whole structure, which is full of stool and urine, is covered by skin, hair, and nails. The 9 doors leading into this body are constantly excreting foul substances. Besides me, what woman could be so foolish as to devote herself to this material body, thinking that she might find pleasure and love in this contraption? Certainly, in this city of Videha, I alone am completely foolish. I neglected the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who awards us everything, even our original spiritual form, and instead, I desired to enjoy sense gratification with many men. Please see verses 35, 39, and 42 in the same chapter. This is such a long commentary. I think this is the longest commentary in the Chaitanya, well, that I've seen yet. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11.9.27, the mendicant Brahmana instructs King Yadu as follows. A man who has many wives is constantly harassed by them. He is responsible for their maintenance, and thus all the ladies constantly pull him in different directions, each struggling for her self-interest. Similarly, the material senses harass the conditioned soul, pulling him in many different directions at once. On one side, the tongue is pulling him to arrange tasty food. Then thirst drags him to get a suitable drink. Simultaneously, the sex organs clamor for satisfaction, and the sense of touch demands soft, sensuous objects. The belly harasses him until it is filled. The ears demands to hear pleasing sounds. The sense of smell hankers for pleasant aromas, and the fickle eyes clamor for pleasing sights. Thus the senses, organs, and limbs, all desiring satisfaction, pull the living entity in many directions. Lord Krishna instructs Uddhav in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11.10, verse 7, verse 25, and verses 27 to 28 as follows. One should see one's real self-interest in life in all circumstances, and should therefore remain detached from wife, children, home, land, relatives, friends, wealth, and so on. Accompanied by heavenly women, the enjoyer of the fruits of sacrifice goes on pleasure rides in a wonderful airplane, which is decorated with circles of tinkling bells and which flies wherever he desires. Being relaxed, comfortable, and happy in the heavenly pleasure gardens, he does not consider that he is exhausting the fruits of his piety and will soon fall down to the mortal world. If a human being is engaged in sinful, irreligious activities, either because of bad association or because of his failure to control his senses, then such a person will certainly develop a personality full of material desires. He thus becomes miserly towards others, greedy, and always anxious to exploit the bodies of women. When the mind is so polluted, one becomes violent and aggressive, and without the authority of Vedic injunctions, he slaughters innocent animals for sense gratification. Worshipping ghosts and spirits, the bewildered person falls fully into the grip of unauthorized activities and thus goes to hell, where he receives a material body infected by the darkest modes of nature. Lord Krishna tells Uddhav in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11.14.29, being conscious of the eternal self, one should give up association with women and those intimately associated with women. Sitting fearlessly in a solitary place, one should concentrate the mind on me with great attention. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11.17, verses 33 and 56, Lord Krishna says to Uddhav, those who are not married, sannyasis, vanaprasthas, and brahmacharis, should never associate with women by glancing, touching, conversing, joking, or sporting. Neither should they ever associate with any living entity engaged in sensual activities. But a householder whose mind is attached to his home and who is thus disturbed by ardent desires to enjoy his money and children who is lusty after women, who is possessed of a miserly mentality, and who unintelligently thinks, everything is mine, I am everything. That person is certainly bound in illusion. Lord Krishna gives the following instructions to Uddhav in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11:21, verses 18 to 21. By refraining from a particular sinful or materialistic activity, one becomes freed from its bondage. Such renunciation is the basis of religious and auspicious life for human beings and drives away all suffering, illusion, and fear. One who accepts material sense objects as desirable, that person certainly becomes attached to them. From such attachment, lust arises, and this lust creates quarrel among men. From quarrel arises intolerable anger, followed by the darkness of ignorance. This darkness quickly overtakes a man's broad intelligence. O saintly Uddhav, a person bereft of real intelligence is considered to have lost everything. Deviated from the actual purpose of his life, he becomes dull, just like a dead person. Lord Krishna further instructs Uddhav in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11:26-3. One should never associate with materialists, those dedicated to gratifying their genitals and bellies. By following them, one falls into the deepest pit of darkness, just like a blind man who follows another blind man. In the same chapter, verses 4 through 24, that describes the results of association with women obtained by Ilasan Pururava. That's chapter 26. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Dakshina, the southern, 572, the following verse is found. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. That's a famous verse. Also, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Uttar 7.8, it is stated, alas, how can an intelligent person who has awakened even a little attachment for Krishna enjoy this material body, which is full of blood, covered with skin and flesh, and stinks of mucus? Mucus stinks? Sorry. In the 8th wave, it is said, alas, I am enthusiastically engaged in relishing varieties of enjoyment in this gross body, which is composed of mucus, semen, and blood, and covered by skin. Oh my God! I am so wretched that I am too lazy to remember Krishna, who is the Supersoul and the personification of transcendental bliss. When will I give up affection for this gross body, which is full of flesh, blood, and pus, and again expertly engage with love in the service of fanning with a chamar the Supreme Lord Hari, who is beyond the reach of argument, and who sits on a golden throne? We're almost at the end now. A devotee of Lord Vishnu who intensely loathes seeing a Padmini woman endowed with all good qualities, considering her bad association, can travel anywhere, dancing and remembering the lotus feet of the Lord. Talk about, that's real freedom. What's a Padmini woman? Is that somebody who makes fragrances? Or a fragrant woman? I don't know. As soon as remembrance of associating with women awakens in my mind, my lips curl with disgust. Ugh. My mind is not satisfied with the activities meant to attain impersonal samadhi, like hearing and remembering, and I have no interest for attaining the mystic perfections, because, O Lord, my mind is extremely attached only to the worship of your lotus feet. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna and Baladev, are the eternal shelter of all devotees, they are the suitable personalities for enjoying with the gopis, who are under the shelter of Madhurya Ras. The gopis have no material conceptions like conditioned souls. In other words, the living entities of this material world consider themselves enjoyers and enjoy the company of women only due to material conceptions. But when Lord Balaram, who is the source of all Vishnu Tattvas, performs Rāsa-līlā, there is no possibility of any material abominations or illicit behavior. Therefore, when the most fortunate munis who are conversant with the Supreme Lord, when the most fortunate munis who are conversant with the Supreme Lord Baladev's glories see his pastimes through divine eyes, they offer prayers with folded hands. All right, so is that what we're reading up to today? I think so. Yeah. I'm just checking this really quick. This is how I prepare the readings. Where is it? Yes. Okay, so that's our reading for today. And tomorrow we will continue reading about Baladeva Prabhu's Rāsa-līlā. That was real full-on brahmachari katha there, wasn't it? This whole reading session. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Sajan Maharaj, Hari Bol. And Krishna Premavati Didi, and I don't know how you say your name, Carmen, Andrea V. Hare Krishna.
I remember in Madhva Maharaj's book, it said that when Gurudev first heard all these things before joining Gaudiya Math, he wasn't too happy.
Really, yeah?
Yeah. The Brahman Nartamananda Brahmachari, later Bhakti Kamal Madhusudana Maharaj, she was quoting the dialogue between Urvashi, and I forget the name of the king. And Gurudev, after hearing all these things, he asked him, "Why are you criticizing women?" And Srila Madhusudana Maharaj said, "Oh, it is not my words. These are the words of Shastra. Also, you should know that it refers to materialistic women and non-devotee women. Us Vaishnavas, we respect all women as mothers, daughters, and sisters."
Okay. And I've heard, actually I think it's written somewhere, all these descriptions of women, it goes the other way also for, I think Gurudev would say that. And no, I found it somewhere, like a shastric thing on this topic, where it says that that it's not, the opposite is also true. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying. This also applies for women, it applies to men. Yeah.
Also, in the beginning, I was thinking about Baladeva Prabhu.
I have to find that. What was that?
I was thinking about Baladeva Prabhu in the beginning, and how there was a devotee who asked Gurudev. He asked Gurudev, I have a friend who's asking, what are the names of Baladeva Prabhu's Sakis, and does he have manjaris? And Gurudev said he has no manjaris, he just has some Sakis. And their names, Gurudev? And Gurudev said, what will he do with that? What, he wants to become Saki of Baladev or what?
Yes. Cool. Wow. Oh, a Padmini woman is a Brahmin woman. Okay, Satyamataji. Cool. Wow, that's actually maybe because we still have more to read about Baladev, about this Baladev's Rāsa-līlā. We still haven't gone through all the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam verses, I think. Actually, I have to check. Maybe we don't. Maybe we are. Anyways, if not, maybe I can find that class that my Gurudev spoke on Baladev's Rāsa-līlā also. I think it's on Pure Bhakti. We could read more things. All right. So, that's our reading for today. It's 8:30 now. So I'll end with a very short kirtan and quick Jaidwani, and see each other tomorrow. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Jai Shri Gurudev Ki Jai, Shri Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Saparshad Ji Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai, Śrī Baladeva Rāsa-līlā ki Jai, Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki Jai, Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai, Śrī Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Śrī Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol.
Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyai Keshavascha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi, Sattvatai Namo Namaha, Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Just checking really quick. The Haribol and Dira Mataji, thank you. Sajjan Maharaj says, also extreme aversion is a symptom of attachment. That's a very important point. Extreme aversion is a symptom of attachment. Yes. So those who are really too much averse, like against women, oh God, they're demons and witches and blah, blah, blah. That means they are overly attached. So, yes, very important point. Thank you for sharing that, Maharaj.
Okay, Prabhu, I have one question. Are we gonna
Yes.
continue fasting from leafy greens during Purushottam Vrat?
No.
No.
During Purushottam Vrat, and the rules for Purushottam Vrat are the same as Kartik. So no mustard, no mustard seeds and sesame seeds and all the other things.
We can take leafy greens
We can take leafy greens, totally.
during
Yes.
Purushottam Vrat. And then after we
Yes.
continue fasting from leafy greens.
Exactly, for another 2 weeks. Yep.
Okay, nice.
That's right. All right. Hari Bol, everybody. And pranams Kishore Prabhu, Gayatri Didi, and everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook. I'll see you all tomorrow. Also, Dandavat pranams Sajjan Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Sajjan
Hari
Maharaj.
Bol. Hari Bol.